All right. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. And happy Saturday. It's Saturday, which means we are once again back to a graphic novel. And today it is the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So we are playing the second game in this collection. We are playing the Great Ace Attorney Resolve. That's what it's called. The first one was called Adventures. So, and now we are playing Resolve. So, in this one, if you'll recall, we are actually playing as Susato, and she is like in disguise as a male student at the school, because per the law, only the male students can participate in the courtroom. So but she's trying to defend her friend. So we are running just a little bit late, so let's go ahead and start our video, because I think everything looks and sounds pretty good. Seems everything is good, so let's go ahead. Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode we are going to continue trying to acquit our friend, but the catch is we're playing as Susato. As Susato is in disguise, because otherwise she wouldn't be allowed to be a lawyer in the courtroom. So let's go ahead and hop in and see what's going to happen in the case and if we can acquit. Alright. Oh, and I did find out, I did find out about these save files. You can't delete them, so we'll just, when we save, we'll just start at the top and work our way down. And the only reason that's an autosave is because I was going through and getting like a few different achieves from from the adventures part of the game. So I think I saved all the way here at the bottom. Yeah, right here. Alright. The Blossoming Attorney. Forensic Medicine Primer. With his little turtle hat. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did not have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. I guess she did have a motive, right? Is what you said true, Inspector? So this is Susato, like, in disguise, and her identity is Ryutaro, when she's in disguise. Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. Ah, this is why Yoko should stay on the farm. Hey, Toad, welcome in. How's it going? Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it. Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Doing pretty good other than the breaking news. Yeah, I literally heard about it after I hit go live, so oh boy. Father, is it true what they're telling me? Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge from medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. But then why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have... Susato. Yes? Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Ah. Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. However, I must warn you that if you fail your cross-examination fails to identify any issues with the established facts, I will be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards. Boy. I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Oh boy, she's got to stand firm. Time to cross-examine. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. Let's make sure we press every statement. You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean if you used due care and attention, it would be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it, and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. But she was a medical student. I mean, wouldn't that kind of count? Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Ugh. Back to the witness testimony, please. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. Hold it! Alright, so let's make sure we press that. In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Which is... Clearly, the defendant, Ray Mami-san, does not possess an ounce of sense. What? What in the world? What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know, young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it. Oh, he's got the hammer, man. Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Oh dear, that's recoiled on me rather badly. That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn. Hopefully, you can now see that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Mambami-san would certainly have been aware of it. Alright. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Hold it! But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew, lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but a rational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear, you have a lot to learn about women. The irony of that statement. Only only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold a little too much. Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim.
Hold it!
Whatever the motive, it isn't just in Mimbami-san's nature to do something so awful. But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant.
Objection!
And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. With this fledgling to defend her, I would almost pity the accused. So do I. Poor Susato. Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please. Yes, Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Mimbami-san. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
Hold it!
Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mimbami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mimbami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the Manstadt, which only serves to prove my point. I don't feel like we gained anything in that round. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it. Susato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamental. The fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it? Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already. I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too. Ah. I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in this courtroom, so if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help. Examine the evidence in the court record. It's an idea, certainly. What should I do? I mean, we pretty much know what to do, but let's go ahead and ask for a refresher. Just because. Yes, Father, Spartan guidance is what I need. I think that might be overdoing it slightly, but... Very well. So open the court record, first of all, with E. Now, let's take a look at the fountain pen, which was submitted as evidence most recently. Now, we did examine this. Simply press space to examine it further. That's all there is to it. But I think, at the time, when we went to look at it, it didn't have examine as an option. Or, yeah, okay. Yes, the initials RM. There they are, clearly engraved on the barrel. By using the arrow keys, you can look at a piece of evidence from all angles. You should have a good look at everything to make sure you haven't missed any clues. Yes, I will. I just need to rotate the pen and watch for anything out of the ordinary then. Alright, so let's see what we got. There is this. What does this mean? Some kind of symbol? There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yuma University one. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply the pin doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Okay. So that's going to be something we can use, right? All right, so which statement would it be? I don't think it's going to be, let's review his statements and see which one we think we could present the pen against. Not that one. This basic knowledge and basic medical research should know. No reason to pull the knife. Not forget the young student did have a motive. I don't know if we would present it to that one. Let's check the next statement. So there is this, but I don't know what we would present it to. Let's examine this again. I mean, we've got the emblem, but none of those statements seem to make any sense in presenting a pen. Maybe I don't know. What would it be, I wonder? Alright, so let's review this. We've already examined this, right? So one of these statements, maybe it's the motive one, right? Alright. So, we've examined the information. Go through the court record and have a thorough look at everything. You may just find a clue. Maybe we look at everything in the court record. Maybe there's something we missed. Giselle Brett, female British, ascertained by examination witness statements that she died August 11th around 2 p.m. Single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. I mean, there's this, right? And we observed this. I feel like that's going to be important, but I'm not sure exactly where yet. Now she does have the pen in her hand here, but it's obviously not what they thought, right? And then we have this newspaper. Is there anything on the back here? Let's see. This is the newspaper from Sasaki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back of the page as well. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from a Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's Medical Research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen? It's this morning's paper that Sasaki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned his information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there? It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I'd put Ray in charge of the project. Ray? She was managing it? If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. You need to read this article very carefully. Okay. Alright. I wonder... An article about the poison that was stolen from a laboratory at Yume University. Even my father, who is responsible for the lab, knew nothing of the incident. Alright, so let's read it. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. Following a lecture at Yume by Sasaki Natsumi, isn't that the guy that's testifying, the other guy? I think it is. On 11th August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Even the smallest quantity entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Why is the poison being developed? Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with an acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. So how does it... Current methods cannot detect it. The university would have to be consulted. A poison-laced blade. So somebody took the knife and put it in the cup that had the poison in it, presumably, and then stabbed her? This doesn't rule out Ray, though. That's the problem. The only thing that does is the pen, right? Maybe there's something else about the pen that we can examine, right? Is there anything else? Can we open it up? If we take off the pen's lid... Let's see. We've got the blade. Let's see. Nothing that appears obviously out of the ordinary here, does it? Alright. Yeah, nothing appears obviously out of the ordinary. Can we unscrew it? Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? And see what's inside. Oh, okay. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. Yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the lid. But it's empty. Is something wrong, Father? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all. Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. Okay, so a fountain pen bearing the initials RM and an emblem of some description. There is a very small amount of liquid still inside the ink reservoir. I wonder if that's poison. Makes you wonder? Alright, that's gonna definitely come into play. Is there anything else that we can examine here? I think that might be about it. Let's go ahead and look at this again. The RM initials are very clearly engraved here. And the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pin in her dying moments is very clearly a message too. To identify her killer, you mean? I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. Okay, so the fact that it has an emblem that's not from the school, and I think that's how the poison was transported in. So, alright, so let's see what statement we can present it to. So here's the question. Which statement would we need to present the pen to? So if she knew the poison was taken, is it possible that she pulled the blade out because she knew it was poisoned and she was trying to help? I don't know. Pulling a blade from a wound could cause heavy bleeding. Yes, that's basic knowledge. Yes, that's true. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. But is there? Maybe there is. The question is, what do we present? Like, we have all these ideas. Let me look at this statement again. Oh, not this one. At this article. Let me look at this again. The smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound would prove fatal in minutes. Maybe. But I don't know that this is the I'm not sure which statement to present to. So let's continue on here. So she did have a motive for killing the victim. Okay. Let's try presenting the pen on the next statement, on this one. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. But that doesn't make any sense. We only have four chances here. I'm going to save just because we can. Oh wait, let me go all the way back to the top. Alright, let's save here. Okay. Now. Back. If we present the pen here, I think, no, I think it's gonna be there's no good reason, right? So we need to get back to the no good reason statement. So let's go back. I think the pen is not a red herring, but it's not what we need to present here. We need to present that there was a good reason, right? So, do we present the article? I think so. Let's try presenting the article for there was no good reason. Alright, pulling a blade. Alright. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. But maybe there is. Let's try presenting the poison article and saying that may have been a reason.
Objection!
No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound.
What? Ha! The yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified?
It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Unit.
Objection!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case.
But
Prosecutor Aki, you will let the defense speak. But a newspaper article. The court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry. Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely at what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion. Your Excellency!
yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article, where it says,
deadly in tiny quantities.
The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Are you suggesting?
If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mimbami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
What? Oh boy.
Objection!
This is complete and utter nonsense.
Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body, not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility.
Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. But it can't be detected, right?
Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold.
Objection!
Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. What an expression! Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. But are we? We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, Yoko?
Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds.
What? You can't possibly. From your expression, Counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times. From my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, Counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? The pen? Perhaps? Let's try the pen.
Take that!
How exactly would you explain this piece of evidence's connection to the newspaper article?
In truth, I'm not really sure. But my father always taught me to ask my elders whenever I was in trouble. So I thought I should ask your opinion, Your Excellency.
Okay, so no. If it is advice you seek, Counsel, then I suggest that before indiscriminately thrusting evidence under my nose. Okay, why not thrust it under the nose of the professor at your side?
I think he means you.
Good grief, thrusting that under my nose isn't going to solve anything here. We must use our heads. The article in the paper had details of the toxin. Now, where have we seen similar details? Does nowhere come to mind?
Ah, you mean I ought to search through all the evidence looking for that?
If I'm not mistaken, it appears the advice of your elders has given you an idea.
Yes, I'd like another chance to present evidence if I may, Your Excellency.
In that case, Counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Well, it is the post-mortem report, right? Because it says that her eyes were observed with pupil constriction, right? I guess let's try presenting this, because if that fails, we can present the article again.
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim.
Ah.
Clearly, being a Yoko with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death.
'Tis Squall. Under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was an extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death.
What?
If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice the pupils of Ms. Brett's eyes had constricted severely,
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
Prosecutor Oki, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence.
Tisk, you yokel student, yokel professor! I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No! Eugen Mikatoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say. Ha! Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father,
'Tis a pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students rather than allowing them off on killing sprees.
that's totally unfounded.
Oh boy.
None of this is Professor Mikatoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray,
Mimbabi-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
but it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Sasaki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately? Maybe she was afraid of not being trusted anymore?
I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was.
It was gonna be Brett, Miss Brett, wasn't it?
The thief? You don't mean? Yes, of course. It was that dainty English woman.
Miss Giselle Brett?
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Oh, well now, whatever do you mean? And then she suddenly got to her feet before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes, if the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Everyone's like, dot 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 dot. I'm trying to think about what to say next. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here, in this courtroom now.
Objection!
Of course you gotta speak. Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Mimbami-san, if that's the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed.
Well,
You have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you?
The gauntlet's been thrown. Oh, I have evidence, and it's very much conclusive.
What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Aki. Where is the evidence? Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student.
What?
I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you've brought this on yourself. Yeah, that's her pulling it out.
What
Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty on the air on that beach is almost palpable. That doesn't prove anything. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Mimbami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back.
No, that's not true, no. I don't believe it.
And who was taking that photo? That's what I want to know. Like, who took that photo? Order, order, order! Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom? Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature.
I'll show you who's slow to mature.
Careful now, Susato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The courts will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. Alright, so we have the incriminating photograph. that's supposedly taken at the moment the victim is attacked. My friend Ray can be seen kneeling over Miss Brett. We'll see.
I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time. It's such a stark image. I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean,
who took that photograph? Exactly, that's what I want to know, Ray. Like, who took it?
Ray.
Objection!
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. It is important.
Oh,
Objection!
that's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony.
I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. I love how he's like sweating now. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Goodness.
Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origin, you nevertheless believed it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses.
But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound.
And really, that's all that shows.
Clearly, this isn't the moment the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but
the moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings. Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
oh no!
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established here so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim.
Yes, we just need to prove that somehow.
Tisha, you'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Takasuki Aki in a court of law.
If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel? Is there going to be a mirror somewhere?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is...
Let's look. Let's look at it. Can we somehow figure out who took the photograph? Is there anything... What about this? We gotta look carefully. Maybe there's something here. Anything here. I mean, we have an idea, right? Based on the pin. Is that even the right thing? The knife? I don't know what we're looking at here. let's look at the other photograph and see what we got. So where is this photo being taken from? There's like a branch or something, right? It's like peeking in from here. What is this? I'm not sure. What people do we even have? Is it possible it's any one of these people? Could it have been one of these? I don't know. If we have to say who it is, then I'm not sure. If we don't have to say specifically, then my guess would be the person who actually committed the crime. But I'm not seeing any kind of like reflection or anything like that. It's somebody, I don't know. Do we have to present it? The burning question, I mean, it depends on what they expect. If they expect a specific person, then we don't know. If they just expect something vague, like the person who actually killed him, then we could say that, because that's who I think it was. So let's see.
This isn't about whether or not I can come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal.
What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name.
How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could?
However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. What? It's the pen. Very well then, counsel, present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mysterious photographer? Alright, so it's going to be the pen.
The piece of evidence in question is this.
Oh, is it not going to be? I'm afraid, counsel, that when presenting evidence, you must learn to temper those wide, nervous eyes. Uh-oh. I'm obliged to penalize you for lack of focus in both your eyes and your answer. Okay, so it's not the pen. Would you care to squeeze your head in your hands again, counsel? To punish yourself for presenting such utterly irrelevant evidence? It's not irrelevant.
Ugh. I'll squeeze my head as many times as it takes to win this trial, Your Excellency. May I?
You may present another piece of evidence, but no more squeezing, counsel. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mysterious photographer? Let's look at this. Is there anything that we can see here? I don't know that that does. What about anything here? Maybe this one? Possibly? Let me look at that. Does she have the pen in her hand then? Does she? It's kind of hard to see her right hand, right? Yeah, you can't see her right hand. But maybe this one. Is there something in this that shows anything? We got the article in the back. Let's look at this.
Raucous England returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Susaki-san, isn't it, Father? It looks as though it was quite an exchange.
Yes, he became a little over-animated when it was talking about his time in England. Wait a second! The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck.
I do hope you weren't hurt.
It's this! Look at that! We've got that same cracking, right? Yeah, okay. It's the newspaper article. Alright.
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again. Raucous England, returnees tell all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side.
Yes indeed. That had already caught my eye, as it happened. What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like. That's what I thought on the other photograph. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph,
You see the same lines. Good gracious.
yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree.
There wouldn't have been any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Council.
Ugh. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired if his camera lens is cracked in the same place, right?
The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of
A camera defect.
obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs.
With the photographic device?
Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched,
And that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device.
in short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera.
But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
I mean, isn't he going to be associated with the newspaper article?
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Aki. That one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article.
A newspaper.
That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
What? What? Exactly? Minimum. Who is that? Oh, is it? I see why you were called a raucous England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified.
It's Minimo, I tell you. Min and Mimo. Me, Mo. Sasaki-san, what was that? Did you say Minamino or Minimimo?
Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyo News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Manamimo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk.
Ah, now that he mentions it. They secretly spy, snap shots, scribble stories, a scupper for my privacy. Could that same reporter be?
A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right.
There I am, stuck in the middle with Raiten Minamimo.
So you say that this picture was taken by...
By Minamimo! Yes! My lord, your excellency, Esquire!
Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Yes, your excellency.
As you say, your excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood? Meh. Minamimo. We're getting to the bottom of this case. Oh boy. Hey, thanks for the follow. Real Matt on guard. To be continued. Of course. Well, of course, that is going to be where we will call it for today. So I hope that that you have enjoyed this. And whoops, let me turn that off for a second. We'll do that in a second. But anyways, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode, and if you do, then please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Liara27, I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description, and if you want to see which games I'll be playing each day, I post them on x.com/Liara27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye. Alright, now you do the music. Whoops. I put it on a little early. I'm like not all here. But anyways, I appreciate everyone for showing up. We're going to save it real fast. We're just going to save over the one entry that we already did before. And I hope that you guys had fun. We will be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be playing some more Shadows of Doubt, and then we're gonna hopefully maybe finish Facility 47. I'm not sure how long it is, but it's got the feel of a game that's not super long, so we'll see. But either way, we're going to be playing Facility 47 also, so that is going to be our plan for that. And let's see. And I think I'm looking to see who we want to raid. Alright, so I think we will give Chaldea Gurus a raid. He's also playing Greatest Attorney Chronicles, so it should be interesting. It looks like he is doing Adventures Case 4, I believe. So should be interesting. If you haven't seen that one, you can check it out for sure. But anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time. So bye!